So, hi everybody, welcome to our YouTube channels, and we're going to do a special one today again, and it's about the astrology of the Netherlands. And me and Meg, we did a video on the astrology of Belgium, which was really well received by a lot of people, and there were a lot of Dutch people asking, can you do a video about the astrology of the Netherlands? And that's actually a great idea because there's so much to be seen in the chart of a country, the chart itself, and for the future with the transits, which Meg is going to talk about. And in preparing for this video, we actually looked up the history of Holland because I'm very familiar with the history of Belgium, less so with the history of Holland. So I had some reading up to do, and for the astrology, you need like a date, you need a birth certificate, and for Holland, because Holland and Belgium have a really complicated history actually, and for Holland there's multiple dates that are actually important. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the date of the founding of the Kingdom of Holland. So the Holland as unitary state is the most recent one. What we are going to focus on is the Congress of Vienna, where Holland actually was created together with Belgium, because Belgium used to be part of Holland for 15 years until the Belgian Revolution of 1830. That's March 16th, 1851, and that's the date Meg will work with because that's the recent one. So Meg, I'm very interested in what you're going to say. Let me start off with a question. I'm very curious because Holland is a seafaring nation. They have lot of connection with water. The delta works, the delta werken in Dutch. They've been world famous for their dikes, their locks, in which they reclaimed land. They made the surface area of Holland so much bigger because they conquered the water actually, and they were seafarers. So, is there anything to see in the chart of Holland that points to that water element, that connection with water? Maybe we can start off with that.
Yes, well, thank you very much for having me, Jens, on your channel. And there definitely is a connection to the water for the Netherlands. And before we even get into that, before we get into any astrology, I just want to say I'm a little bit nervous, I'm going to be honest, because the last video that we did together on the astrology of Belgium, even though I'm not a Belgian, I'm Canadian, I have been living in Belgium the past 4 years. So I sure know a lot more about Belgium than I do about the Netherlands. And I'm going to try my best today, you guys, on a country that I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about. Netherlands, I am very passionate about the history of countries and politics. So if I say anything that is not correct, please give me some grace because I'm not trying to disrespect anybody out there. It's kind of exciting because I'm coming at this actually a little bit blind. And Jens, you're going to guide me through this. Okay, so it's kind of cool because I'm just reading the astrology. I don't know a whole lot about the country other than the few times that you've brought me to Holland on some trips that we've done. So you're asking, can you repeat your question?
So is there any indication of like that connection with water that the Dutch have in the chart of Holland? Because they've been it's really prevalent in their society. They have a lot to do with water. Actually, Holland is below the surface level. Big part of Holland is below the surface level of the water actually. So is there anything that points to that water element in the chart, that water connection?
It's kind of funny because there is a huge connection. And could you bring up the chart, please? Because for some reason, the software won't let me bring up the chart. So, and I don't know if, is my mouse going to show if I go over? Does my mouse show that it's?
I can see the pointer here.
So this is the birth chart of the Netherlands based on the most recent, Kingdom of the Netherlands chart. So that's what we're going to look at today. And in this chart, look at this. We've got something called a Pisces stellium, okay? Now, a stellium is when we have 3 or more planets in the same sign or astrological house. We actually have a couple different stelliums going on. So 4 heavenly bodies in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a water sign that rules the oceans, the seas, to be seafaring, to travel on the oceans, to travel to faraway, distant locations. And we know that the Dutch not only are a sea nation, literally surrounded by the sea on most of its corners, but they traveled all throughout the world. They conquered different parts of the world. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense with the astrology. And it's the sun sign is Pisces, the Mercury, Pluto, and Chiron, all in Pisces.
Wow, that's really interesting. And you know what I'm Also thinking about is Neptune, because I don't know that much about astrology, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Neptune is also a water planet, right? Because Neptune makes me think of the god Neptune, with his how do you call it? The
trident.
trident, yeah. Is there anything that's specific about Neptune in the chart of Holland?
Well, okay, interesting. Yes, there actually is, because Neptune is in Sagittarius in the chart. It's not in an angular house. You know, Neptune is one of the outer planets in astrology. So when it comes to personal birth charts, we put more of a focus on the sun, moon, rising, the inner planets. The outer planets we pay attention to mostly if they're in strong aspects or on angular houses, first, fourth, seventh, or 10th house. But interesting that the Neptune is in Sagittarius. So to travel to faraway locations, that to be seafaring can be a big part of the country's history as well. So that does actually show up in the chart. And I do know something about the Netherlands is they do export a lot. And like Belgium, where I've been living with you for the past 4 years, it's one of those countries where there's many different ports of entry to the seas where things get traded, all throughout the world. So yeah, that shows up in the chart.
Really interesting. Are there any other specific things you notice about this chart? I think back at the video we did on Belgium, and of course, we're both, we're for freedom. We're interested in alternative history, the hidden, the unseen, and like with the astrology of Belgium, you really could pick up like the influence of these hidden elites in the chart. Because the EU, Brussels is the seat of this power structure, the EU. And I know there's also connections with the elites in Holland, because, of course, the royal family is involved, and all the royal families are basically, family of each other. It is said that the King of Holland is actually the 800th person in the line to the British throne, because they're somehow involved with each other. And I also know Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands is actually one of the founding members of the Bilderberg Group. And the
Yeah.
Bilderberg Group is actually this globalist think tank, really involved with the hidden power structure on Earth. So is there anything that you can pick up on in this chart? Elites, government structures, anything that you can see in this chart in regard to that?
Definitely. There's a lot to pick up on. So, oh my gosh, where do I start? What I actually want to start with, and we'll talk a bit about the birth chart, and then we can talk about some of the current transits of the country of the Netherlands. So a lot of government influence, a lot of elite influence for sure, as we have in the chart a 10th house stellium. So I threw that word at you guys a few minutes ago. 4 planets sitting in the 10th house of Capricorn. Capricorn rules governments, politics, the elites, the highest elites in the world. And similar to the astrology of Belgium, Sun conjunct Pluto. Now, Belgium doesn't have a Sun conjunct Pluto, but Belgium did have some adverse aspects with the planet Pluto. And when we did the Astrology of Belgium video, I said, this shows that there's been a lot of nefarious activities that have taken place in Belgium, because, we know it's the heart of the EU. There's been a lot of satanic things that have come out about Belgium behind the scenes. We follow Anneke Lucas as an example, but the Netherlands has had this as well, big time, involving their elites and their politicians. Sun conjunct Pluto. Pluto rules the dark side of life in the 10th house of politics. Now, what's different between the Netherlands and Belgium that I'm seeing astrologically, and Jens, you can please let me know if I'm wrong or how it resonates for you. With the chart of Belgium, it's more out in the open, and there's more being talked about sooner about the weird things that have been going on behind the scenes involving the dark arts people. Whereas for Netherlands, based on this chart, there is still a lot being hidden. Okay, about the truth of what the heck is really going on, and the truth about who are the politicians. And I'm feeling intuitively to say, and I felt this before we even went live for this video, and this is just my intuitive side coming in, there are good guys in Holland politically. I don't know why the balloons are going off. Sorry, we got balloons going off here. People that a lot of freedom people are maybe considering to be good guys that are not, and that are a psyop. Okay, so I'm just like picking that up intuitively. with so many planets in the sign of Pisces, which I'm a Canadian, okay, and in the chart of Canada, we've actually also got a lot in Pisces. So there's a similarity between the Netherlands and Canada there. Not everything is as it seems, and there is a lot hidden that is confusing, that is illusory, and it's harder to get at the truth of it compared to what we looked at in the chart of Belgium. Does that make sense at all, what I'm saying?
It actually makes absolute sense where you were talking, and there's 2 points I want to touch on. The first one is that you say, it's more hidden than Belgium, which is perfectly, in my view, is perfectly true, because Belgium had like the Dutroux case, which brought
Mhm.
this cases of child abuse into the open, and there was even the people did the White March against government corruption and against these networks of elites that actually abuse children. That was out in the open for a certain point in Belgium. Of course, most of Belgians went back to sleep again, but it was out in the open before. Whilst in Holland, there's of course talks of that, but it hasn't been out in the open like with the Dutroux case in Belgium. So you're making a really poignant point there. And the other
Mhm.
one was that you say is a kind of a psyop going on with the elites. And I had to immediately think about Geert Wilders when you said that, because Geert Wilders, he was, the biggest party with his PVV in Holland in the elections of 2023. And a lot of people voted for him because they thought he would bring real change.
Mm.
He was positioning himself as like a freedom fighter against immigration. And I think, honestly, it was a trap. And a lot of people fell for him. And then, he didn't become prime minister. Actually, somebody of another party, Dick Schoof, became prime minister, and he was actually former head of the security intelligence services, like a really deep state guy. So I
Mhm.
think, yeah, what you're saying is really on point here, Welders. I think it was part deception. I think he's much more part of the power structure than he presented himself to the public. So that's actually deception, because a lot of people voted for him thinking that he would bring change, which they don't do. So
Yeah.
it's really, really interesting that you say that.
Mhm.
Um,
And
so,
can I say something as well before I
sure.
forget? This chart has Pluto, right? The planet that rules dark elites, the dark arts, nefarious activities, darker, evil people, conjunct the midheaven. So, we're talking about the New World Order. If you've ever listened to Jens or I before, we're conspiracy theorists, we're truthers. We talk about the New World Order and those kind of people. This country, with Pluto conjunct the midheaven, that rules the dark side of life. This rules the crazy psychopaths that want us to eat bugs and have total control over us. This country is one of the most important countries astrologically as to this group of people. And that's something that I never personally thought of before today, looking at this chart for the first time. We know Switzerland has the head of the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab is from there. We know there's some weird stuff going on in Antarctica. We know Belgium is the seat of the EU. Netherlands, and correct me again if I'm wrong, but very important in terms of this group of dark people. And it's hidden. And we're going to get to, when we talk about the current transits, how I think this year ahead, huge things are going to be revealed about the truth of the Netherlands and the truth of the politicians of the Netherlands and its history. And I'll
Wow,
explain.
really, really, really interesting. Yeah, before we go to the transits, it also made me think. I was doing like a spiritual retreat in Holland in 2017, and there it was brought up. There were some Belgians there and mostly Dutch people that Belgium was so dark, and in their eyes, Holland was a lot lighter. And I think that's going back to what you said. It's like it's still more hidden in Holland. And I was like thinking, okay, I know Belgium. There's dark stuff happening in Belgium with the elites, but are you so sure that Holland isn't the same? So, that's again reflecting that hidden aspect that you see in the charts. But anyway, let's continue. Maybe if you're done with the chart itself, maybe we can continue to the transits and to see what's in store.
There's just a few more things I'd like to share about the birth chart. Then we can go to the transits. So, for me as a Canadian, when I think of the Netherlands, people from North America, Canadians and Americans, we think of, if we've never been to the Netherlands before, Amsterdam. We think of, it seems to be very progressive and that there's drugs that are legal, right? And Pisces is the sign in astrology that rules drugs, recreational drugs. And the sun is in Pisces with a Pisces stellium. And correct me if I'm wrong, but drugs are legal in the Netherlands, right? Or is it just marijuana?
It's marijuana mostly. They're more tolerant to other kinds of drugs,
Right.
kind of, but it's
Mushrooms.
especially marijuana. Everybody goes there, like the Belgians and the French, for their marijuana.
Yeah. So it's a country that, okay, it's open to that stuff. They're kind of known for that internationally, you know, in a very cheesy way. But also something that you've shared with me is that a lot of Dutch people are open to spirituality and alternative, you know, things. And Pisces is a sign that rules spirituality in its sun sign and in its stellium. So the people of Holland are more naturally open to spirituality, you know, recreational drug use, expanding their consciousness, right? Also doing foreign travel to distant locations because Pisces rules that. And another thing that can rule the people in a country astrology chart is the moon. And the moon in this chart is in Taurus, which is actually a really positive placement. The moon in Western astrology is what we call exalted in the sign of Taurus. So overall, the people have a really positive energy. They like to enjoy life. You know, Taurus rules the pleasures and enjoyments and beauties of life. It's very creative. They like food. They like music. There's probably really good music and art that comes from Holland. We know that in history, some of the greatest artists are from the Netherlands, right? So they're naturally very creative, carefree. They like to enjoy themselves, very positive people. And what I'll also add is the Netherlands has a Cancer rising. So Sun in Pisces, Moon in Taurus, Cancer rising. So that made me think about when I saw that, how you've said to me a few times that sometimes people consider the Netherlands to be like the America of Europe, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that they are naturally very confident usually, and they can maybe be a little bit louder, the Dutch people, than some other European people. And that's funny because the sign of Cancer in the rising is how they appear to others when you first meet them. Cancer rules patriotism, right? The USA and Canada are Cancer suns, and these are two countries that are very patriotic. And I would guess that most Dutch people are patriotic, proud of their country, and maybe they express that out loud. I'm not too close with anybody from Holland, but that's what I would read astrologically is they're typically probably proud to be Dutch. And I think it is cool to be proud to be Dutch because it seems like a very progressive country, beautiful country. And so they care about their country and they can be seen as a nation that cares and they express that. So those were some,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
To touch on that, absolutely, because you know, Belgians are more reserved, so Dutch people are weak. I call them sometimes, like you say, the Americans of Holland, in the way that they present themselves. They're much more confident. You know, there's much more a culture of being able to voice your opinion against the authority figures. There's much more a culture of that. And actually, to touch on the point that you said that they were more patriotic, I really noticed that because of King's Day. Koningsdag, Koninginnedag in Holland. When I was in Holland doing another spiritual retreat, I always go to Holland for their spiritual retreats because it's true they're more into it than Belgium. It was really, really a lot celebrated. You know, everybody was in front of the television to see the king or the queen and the king and the queen. You know, on April 27th, it's like a big thing and everything is orange. So you're really spot on with that one too.
Right. Cool. That's what I've got for the birth chart.
Okay, should we continue to the transits to see what's in store?
Yes, now is when everyone's going to want to take a deep breath. This is crazy, the transits of this country. So should I just start? Is there anything specifically you want to know, or should I just start talking about it in general?
No, I'm just curious to what you see in the chart. What's up for for the transit in the coming year or years for Holland?
Okay. So first thing right away, one of the most important things for us as astrologers to pay attention to is the eclipses and eclipse seasons, okay? And if you are a person or a country or an institution that has a major placement exactly conjunct an eclipse, that is a very big deal. That is one of the biggest transits that you can have in astrology. So what I'm talking about right now is the sun of the Netherlands, 25 degrees of Pisces. We just had on September 18th, was it the 17th or 18th? I'm having a brain fart, one of those days. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. So that eclipse was exactly conjunct the sun of Netherlands. And that was a very intense eclipse. That was our first of 3 full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces that we will have in a row. And when you've got an eclipse conjunct your sun, this is an absolutely life-changing period. Full moon eclipses are about endings, release, completion, and also revealing of whatever area of life it is conjunct. Remember, sun is in the 10th house of politicians, governments, elites. Pisces is behind the scenes, secret societies, things that have been hidden. What has been hidden? So there's a lot to this. I think over the next 6 months, because full moon lunar eclipses have an effect for up to 6 months, huge things are going to be revealed about the governments and politicians of the Netherlands. Okay. Also their history. Capricorn rules the history. I keep getting this so strong. Something huge has been hidden about the history of the Netherlands with this astrology. Whatever we have been told in the history books about this country is probably bullshit. And it's probably even weirder than a lot of the other countries on the planet. And as a Canadian, I've looked at the chart of Canada. Canada has a very similar thing, and with a Pisces stellium as well. And Canada is going through that process as well of realizing not everything is as it seems, right? And one of those truths are that Netherlands and Canada, among many other countries, are not truly independent countries, right? We may think that we're free because you can walk down the street and yell something or smoke your marijuana or buy mushrooms or that. No, you're under a monarchy system. That's one of the truths, is that this country, among many other countries, are under a king, queen monarchy system. And I think that that will start to dismantle over the coming years with not just the eclipses in Pisces conjunct the sun, but we're also going to have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction 2025 and 2026 conjunct this sun as well. So there's a whole new ending and beginning happening for the chart of Netherlands, where I probably sound really dramatic. Anyone who listened to the Astrology of Belgium video and also this video, because I was saying very intense things for Belgium as well, but it's kind of affirming the astrology of Belgium as well, because these countries are next to each other. So if something crazy happens in one of them as a development, it's probably going to affect the other one, right? So both of these charts are showing huge changes in the governments, in the politics, and probable release of the monarchy system and becoming a truly independent nation. Okay. So over the next 6-month period from September that we just had to March, the Netherlands is going through huge government, political changes, historical changes, and revealing of the truth of their history. Now, I will also say, because Pisces rules water and the seas, flooding, hurricanes, you don't get hurricanes in the Netherlands, but one of the challenges, I think, is that there could be some kind of possible really adverse weather event involving water or flooding or a storm of historical proportions for the Netherlands, with that eclipse in Pisces conjunct the sun, with Saturn in Pisces conjunct the sun as well. That will be exact in early February. We've got Neptune in Pisces right now, conjunct the sun. So there's a lot of things showing there could be very intense weather events involving water. So if you live close to the water, and I'm not trying to promote fear, I'm just reading the astrology for you guys. If you live in the Netherlands close to the sea, be prepared for possible flooding and possible even like really serious emergency situation. So that may sound really intense for me to say, but that's something astrologically that could come up. Being prepared for, possible power outages, not being able to drive and get food or water. So having extra food or water, it's not the end of the world. It might just be something intense that comes up. And also having an eclipse on your sun with transit Neptune and Saturn conjunct your sun, this can be a challenging and heavy time as well, where some of the Dutch people may feel disillusioned with the current state of the country or confused about the state of the country. You may know better than me about that, so you can speak to that. It can seem like a very confusing time for the country with transit Neptune conjunct the sun and also Saturn there at the same time. Anything that you want to say to that? Any of that?
No, it's really interesting what you've been saying, and what's maybe I want to touch on that is that you said Belgium and Holland are actually in a way because they're next to each other, they're connected, and they're still connected. Because Belgium used to be part of the Netherlands for about 15 years until Belgium gained its independence in the 1830s with the chart you read. So that's really on point. So yeah, continue if there's anything else that you see in the transits.
Yeah, definitely. So from the start of 2025 to February 26, transit Saturn, which is which is the planet that rules government, politics, powerful people, also challenge, delays, heaviness, will exactly conjunct the sun of the Netherlands in the 10th house. Again, there's a huge theme with multiple of the transits going on, huge governmental changes and a dismantling and revealing of the system that currently is. A positive thing that is coming up is starting June of 2025 to summer of 2026, transit Jupiter will ingress into the sign of Cancer, which is the rising sign of Netherlands. So even though, and I'm an honest kind of astrologer, I tell everybody the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are challenging transits for the Netherlands right now. Really positive one is Jupiter in Cancer in the rising sign. So that can actually bring some very positive developments to the country over the next 2-year periods, but it's not going to be easy. It's not just going to be like snap of a finger, oh, we have amazing politicians now and yay, everything's good. There's going to be a process of very uncomfortable things being revealed and people's minds being completely blown, even freedom lovers, even truthers. There's Pisces is things that are totally hidden in the behind the scenes that nobody knows about. So this is stuff that even conspiracy people probably don't know. There may be like 5 people that know some of this information that's about to come out over the next year. So all of that has to come to light so that the Netherlands can go into a more positive, truly free place. Because, the truth is, and Jens and I have talked about this a lot in our content, monarchy systems are not free. Like that's a total enslavement to be under a king or a queen and to have laws under a king or a queen. So that whole system is going to be dismantling worldwide over the next few years. And I think that the Netherlands might be one of the first countries in modern times to really separate themselves from a monarchy system as well. And I think that will definitely have happened big time by the end of the 2020s. Because when we get closer to the end of the 2020s, transit Pluto in Aquarius will conjunct the natal Saturn. So in the chart of the Netherlands, the Saturn is at 8 degrees of Aquarius in the 8th house. And by the way, you guys, I don't know if I mentioned this. This is an exact chart. So this is 11:47 a.m., March 16th, 1815, was the signing of the Kingdom of Netherlands. So we've got an exact chart here, okay, where by the end of the 2020s, to be specific, exactly from 2028 to 2029, transit Pluto, the most intense planet in astrology, in the sign of Aquarius, which rules freedom, revolution, right? Moving into the age of Aquarius, will conjunct natal Saturn, the planet of governments and politics, in the 8th house of Scorpio, intensity. So by that period, I think there will be a total change to the governmental system of the Netherlands. And it's going to be dramatic. I'm going to be honest with you guys, for the Netherlands. So I think the Netherlands will inspire the world to step into that freedom and country independence. It will inspire other countries.
Wow, that's interesting. And to ask a question about this Pluto Saturn conjunction. So, if I
Yeah.
understand correctly, because they are outer planets, this is actually a conjunction that will not only affect probably the Netherlands, if I am correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
also other countries, right? But it affects the Netherlands in a way that it is in the eighth house of the Netherlands. Am I correct in this
You're
supposition, or?
You're correct that there likely are other countries that have the Saturn in Aquarius. I can't think of any at the top of my head right now. Saturn is in Aquarius every 28 years and lasts for 3 years at a time. But this is more specifically for the Netherlands, that
Okay.
during that period, they will have transit Pluto conjunct their Saturn. So like I said, for the astrology of Belgium, for both of these countries in the next 2 to 5 years, this is not normal astrology. This is very intense, totally transformational astrology of the countries.
Wow, this is so exciting to hear. Just as with the astrology of Belgium, and the astrology of Europe, which you also did on your channel with Astrid.
Mhm,
I invite people, especially the people in the EU, to watch that one, because that was very interesting too. That also a lot of promise for big changes happening. Because of
mhm,
course, we're in times of immense changes. As I also speak about in my book. My book is out in Dutch, and it's called A World in Transition, Een Wereld in Transitie, where I
mhm.
also talk about these changes, and it's available on obeliskbooks.nl, obeliskboeken.nl. In Dutch, is available to where I speak about these immense changes. So it's amazing that you're also seeing this also reflected in the astrology of Holland. We might have some challenging times, but we're going to the age of Aquarius.
Mhm.
With its good and bad, but the good thing is we're gonna get rid of these old power structures, right? That were more Capricorn-like, if I am correct.
Definitely, for sure. And I'll also want to add that, because the moon is at 28 degrees of Taurus in the chart of the country, and in the current astrology, we have the planet Uranus in Taurus at around 26 degrees right now. We're going to see more farmers' protests, and the farmers' protests are actually going to get even more intense. And I think the Netherlands will lead the way in the world for the farmers protesting. Why I'm saying that is because Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, revolution, freedom, and protest, in the sign of Taurus, which rules land, farms, food. So I think Holland will continue to lead the way for that, and those protests are not done. And correct me if I'm wrong, there may have been new laws that are legislated, but remember, you guys, all of these laws are about to fall apart because these government systems are about to fall apart. So these are not things that are going to be sticking around. Whatever laws have been stated for Agenda 2030, for the New World Order. This is a country, and I'm very happy. All the Dutch people I've met, they are naturally very confident. The ones I've met, you guys are naturally very brave, very proud. It's good to be proud of your country. It's good to be brave. It's good to be confident. It's good to be protective of your country, because you guys are going to need that in the coming times. And you are going to lead the way in inspiring other parts of the world, specifically around the food, the farming, the healthy food.
Yeah, that's amazing. And again, it makes me think of Holland is in those ways ahead of Belgium. Like the organic food and stuff, the
Mhm.
spirituality. The farmers' protests that were all very intensely happening in Holland and also in Belgium. But indeed, like you say, in Holland was on the world stage for that. So that's probably going to continue, as you see in the astrology. So yeah, I think we're almost at the end. Is there anything you want to add as some last words, Meg?
Wow, it's going to be really intense for the country of the Netherlands, but it's going to be intense for the whole world in different kind of ways. And I want to say too, sometimes I get comments of people being like, Meg, you're so negative talking about, there could be major storms or floodings. I'd rather tell you guys that so you can be prepared if that does happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but it's not the end of the world. Everybody is not going to die. Okay, just being prepared for, if you live in the Netherlands over the next year and a half, there's going to be intense rain, storms, possible floods, things like that. So just being prepared for that.
All right. That was a great talk about a great expose of this chart, Meg. Thank you. you know, and I would like to add, you know, like we're in times of an intense transformation, and you know, we need to be prepared, like Meg says, but we also need to keep focus on the positive, because we're in times where all this darkness, as Meg also sees in the charts of Netherlands and Belgium, all this darkness is coming to light. And we need to keep a positive outlook. We need to know that this is a process. It's a kind of a purging we're going through. It's a purging of our societal structures, where the darkness that has been hidden in the underground behind the scenes is coming to the forefront for more and more people to see. And some people might interpret it as, you know, the world is ending, but it's not. The world is changing, and it's actually the old world is ending, and there's a new beginning coming in. So that's really important to remember, to keep in that positive vibration of being excited for these changes. So that's what I would want to add at last. So everybody, thanks for watching. You can follow us on our social media, on Facebook, on YouTube. Meg has her own channel. I have my channel. What's your what's the social media you would want people to follow you on most, baby, that you can give a shout to?
Telegram, it's uncensored. My Instagram, yeah, we'll put the links in the description below.
Yes, same thing for me. I have my Facebook, Telegram, YouTube channel, and you can. This video will appear also on my YouTube channel, so you can subscribe if you want. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Meg, for watching, and maybe we'll do a future astrology video together sometime in the future again. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.